former Armed Force Armed Force Minister James Heappey. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. I
Thank
too
you so
can't
much.
believe I'm talking to the brewer.
Yeah, the brewer, as I'm now known, the brewer. I've been called worse in my time, James, I've got to say. You only very
Thanks,
recently left office. I want to talk some politics with you as well. But first of all, just your reaction to these commemorations, these 80th anniversary commemorations. I've got images of incredible fly pasts and we're parachuting in and events yesterday in Portsmouth and today in Normandy, world leaders gathering, incredibly sombre but also just incredibly grateful commemorations. What do you make of it all?
Yeah, look, I like you, I admire these commemorations. I sort of, even though the reenactments, the sort of parachute drops, or I saw the Piper arriving on a beach this morning, they are tiny in scale compared to the real thing. They sort of just bring to life some of what happened on the night of the 5th of June and the morning of the 6th of June. And you sort of, when you just pause and reflect on how it must have felt to be the 18-year-old boy sat on the bench in the airplane ready to jump out in the dead of night on the night before, or I was listening to some of the on BBC at the moment. They're kind of reanimating, kind of lip syncing against some recordings that were from those that went. And the one that really struck me the other night, because I think it's the bit that you don't really think about, is they've been living on the troop ship for a couple of days. They'd sailed out into the middle of the channel, dead of night. Then they'd sort of scramble over the side of the boats down into their landing craft, and then you kind of think of all this as all happening quite quickly. But in reality, the testimony that I was listening to the other night, they were talking about how once they were into their assault craft, the small little landing craft with the ramp on the front that you see in Saving Private Ryan or Band of Brothers, they would then bob around in the middle of the channel whilst all of the other landing craft were being loaded, and only when everything was loaded and everything was ready to go would they all form up and then throttles forward and into the assault. And this huge naval gunfire bombardment going over your head all that time. So you're sick, you're scared, you're deafened. You're going up against, well-prepared defences and people who were also motivated to fight for their lives too. The ferocity of it all, it just utterly brutal.
Yeah, I mean, and war is brutal. You're an ex-military man yourself. I'm the sole person in all this conversation today who's not served. What do you make of this former general, outgoing general, Sir Patrick Saunders, saying that Britain is not ready for a third world war? I mean, we seem to have non-stop list of either former defence secretaries or former defence ministers, former military leaders when they leave office saying, "Look, we're not prepared. We're no longer post-war. We're pre-war." What do we need to do to prepare?
Well, look, I was in Patrick's battalion in Bathrow in 2007, so I'm a fan of his, and I also know that he is invariably right, and he is right. Okay, that there is our strategic readiness to prosecute high intensity, sustained warfare.
Yeah.
Is not what it should be.
We're great at a little bit of send the SAS in, little manoeuvre. We're great at that, but sustained is what we're not good at.
No, we can do much more than just sending the SAS. And we've got incredibly capable aircraft carriers with some of the world's most advanced stealth aircraft to be launched from them. We've got hunter-killer submarines that are genuinely the world's best. We've got our nuclear deterrent. Typhoon, with its which is the Royal Air Force main fighter jet, with its new radar system, is as good as anything in the sky. And even with the army, which I think is Patrick's right to highlight the state of the army. But even with the army, you could generate a division, not the kind of big, heavy armored division that we imagine from Cold War days. But then we didn't use that on the invasion of Iraq either. The invasion of Iraq in 2003, the division that went over the line, I think, had 2 armored brigades and 16 air assault parachute brigade. So we of course we can put a division into the field. The problem is we can't scale our military because we don't have the industrial base, and we can't sustain it for a prolonged period of fighting because we haven't got the stockpiles and the spares,
Yeah.
all of which the government needs to get after.
And that costs a lot of money. And, obviously there's an awful lot of pressures. Obviously, we've had in recent years and certainly in the coming years ahead, the pressures on other spending on public services. Look, you've left politics. You've decided not to stand in this election. What do you make of the election campaign so far? In particular, the latest poll from YouGov showing that Reform, since Nigel Farage has said he is back in the fray, is now just 2 points behind the Tories.
So I'm finding it really weird because, on the one hand, I'm still in all the MPs' WhatsApp groups and Conservative Central Office campaign groups and everything.
Do share all, James. What do you want to tell us?
No chance. So you see all of the nervousness and some paranoia and energy that exists in those groups, and then I've just been walking back from Leicester Square, the studio of one of your competitors, back through, and walk back down through Whitehall and then on through Battersea Park. And in Battersea Park, there were school sports days going on. And it's really weird. My sense is that the public at large are pretty disinterested. Those of us that are political anoraks are.
Oh, yeah. Oh, most people don't pay attention to an awful lot of this stuff. They're sensible.
The final half term of the school year. People are planning holidays, sorting out their barbecues before England's games in the Euros. There's a village fete to attend. And I think the politicians of all parties are going to have to work extraordinarily hard to cut through to a weary public who kind of just want to enjoy their summer.
Hold on a minute. There's that breaking news. Are we going to get a summer eventually?
Well, look out! Well, you probably haven't got any windows in your posh studio.
I have. I've got windows. I can see it. It ain't summer out. Not looking out my window. It's not. But it depends where you are in the country.
So I'm in Battersea, which isn't that far from you. So, I just the one thing that I think politicians are going to be careful of is I think that Rishi Sunak is right to push Keir Starmer on the degree to which he actually has a plan. And if he does have a plan, is it a plan that he's not sharing with us because it's blooming expensive and a lot of people don't agree with it?
That's fair for him to ask for that. Yes.
But he must be really careful that to a public who are jaded by politics and deeply distrustful of everything politicians say, that scrutiny doesn't start to sound sensational and therefore they don't trust it.
Well, and again, and we know a lot of those don't trust anything any of you lots say. Anyway, we're going to have to leave it there. Time's against us. James Heappey, so appreciate you taking time to talk to us today. Former Armed Forces Minister James Heappey.